Buongiorno a tutti and welcome back to Crave. Crave is where passion drive, dreams take shape, and connection grow. This season we continue bridging the USA and Italy, celebrating Italian culture, language, the Italian-American lifestyle, and the 49er football. Stay tuned later, we will be joined by a special guest, Alberto Acito, Director of INNOVIT, the Italian Innovation and Culture Hub, and a true bridge between Italy and Silicon Valley. And of course, join me in studio is my partner in this adventure, Alex Lopez, with the latest 49ers update. Buongiorno, Alex.
Buongiorno, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, Samantha?
I'm good, and also I'm very excited to check in today and shake things up a little bit because guess what? People always think of Italy as just food, fashion, but there is so much more. Innovation, top university, and cutting-edge technology. We are diving into all of it today, and I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. I mean, it's true. It's I think a lot of people just think of fashion and food, and those things are amazing, of course.
Yeah, they're very important. Yeah.
Very important, but there's so much more to it. And I kind of feel on some level the same way when it comes to like sports journalism and my experience so far in doing this and talking about the 49ers. So there's always the surface level things which are true and amazing, but there's a lot more to it. And I think it's important to cover all of it.
I can't wait.
Let's get started.
And now it's time for the Italian language spotlight. Joy Vania for l'angolo della lingua italiana, where she takes us through the beauty of Italian language. Vania, a te la parola. Ciao Vania.
Hi, Vania.
Bella parola, esatto. Ciao Samantha, ciao Alex. Tutto bene?
Bene, grazie.
La parola di oggi è un verbo. Today it's a verb. E la parola è vorrei. Vorrei. Vorrei means I'd like. So, in a bar, vorrei un caffè. Vorrei un cappuccino. I'd like a coffee, un espresso. I'd like a cappuccino. Vorrei una pizza al ristorante. Vorrei un risotto, giusto? Vorrei un gelato, quello che vogliamo mangiare. Ma vorrei è anche per i desideri, for whatever we want. Like, for example, vorrei essere in Italia. Vorrei essere a Firenze. I would like to be in Florence. Vorrei una villa in Toscana. I'd like a nice villa in Tuscany, right? Alex, what would you like? Vorrei what?
Vorrei a 49ers Super Bowl.
Yes.
In my lifetime.
Yes, that's beautiful. Now you made a wish in Italian. Maybe it will come true. Yes.
Good.
Ok, e per oggi abbiamo finito. Ciao!
Ciao, grazie Vania. This episode of Crave is broadly brought to you in partnership with the Consul General of Italy and the Italian Culture Institute of San Francisco. Their support allows us to celebrate and share Italian culture, language, and innovation with a wider audience. Grazie mille. For more information and upcoming events, visit their website at the link below. When people think of Italy, they picture food, fashion, and design. But there is so much more. Italy is home to brilliant minds, top university, and cutting-edge innovation. That's where INNOVIT comes in. Today, we welcome Alberto Acito, Director of INNOVIT, who is helping Italian startups break into the US market. We will dive into this journey, INNOVIT's mission, and how it's bridging Italy and Silicon Valley. Alberto, welcome to Crave.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
For those who may not be familiar, what is INNOVIT and what is its core mission?
Right. So INNOVIT is the Italian government outpost in Silicon Valley. which means that its goal is to create a strong bridge between the Italian tech ecosystem and the epicenter of global innovation, which is San Francisco and Silicon Valley. And the way we do this is both ways. We not only promote Italy, as I said before, as a tech nation here, and it's very important to attract investors, to have a different storytelling about Italy, which is not about only culture or tech or food or fashion, but it's also technology. And on the other way, it's helping our businesses, namely startups. And so the way we do this is by organizing every 2 months an acceleration program for 30 entrepreneurs in different industries and verticals. And we do this every 2 months, so 6 programs every year. Until now, in the last 2 years, we have already built a community of more than 300 startups and founders that have been here having and living this incredible experience. Also, interesting enough, the business model that INNOVIT has deployed is very peculiar. It's a public-private partnership. So the project is led by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with the Italian Trade Agency as well and the Italian Cultural Institute. But the private part of this project, represented by FGB and Enterprise Innovation, is an important part because it brings those competencies and skills that are highly needed when you want to engage with investors and with the tech community. So it's a very virtuous type of model that is proving to be very successful. I would say that the last part, and probably is the one that we didn't think it would become so important, or the response would have been so overwhelmingly beautiful, is the engagement of the local community. So not only we bring Italian businesses, but we actually connect them with the diaspora, the Italians living abroad. And there are so many incredibly talented minds here in Silicon Valley from Italy, second generation Italian, and also Americans that love Italy in many ways, that are part of our programs. In fact, they are the ones who come to INNOVIT in this beautiful location to deliver their speeches, their expertise. They do mentorship, what we call here that paying forward, that giving back. And having built this community of Italian founders and Italian that live abroad is probably the most rewarding part of this project.
The building is beautiful. I've been lucky enough to go one time. But I want to ask, why was San Francisco chosen as the location for INNOVIT? And how does this enhance your work bridging Italy and the US?
Right. Well, we are in the epicenter of global innovation. So INNOVIT obviously is brand and name that was created, talks about innovation, talks about technology and Italian startups. So of course, if there was a place that we would think to do this, was of course San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Also, it's interesting that since this is a very innovative project for the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, think about it, it's very much of an experiment. It's a startup in many ways. It's a startup in many ways. And of course, even within the public administration, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the first place that we could do an experiment was of course again Silicon Valley, right? It makes sense. So globally, I would say last year the global market in venture capital was 400 billion. Now almost 100 billion, 90 billion were invested in Silicon Valley. Again, venture capital is core, is critical for scaling globally for our Italian startups. Connecting with this ecosystem is very important. So of course, it is the place where we had to start. Now, bear in mind, we are working to design INNOVIT as a template, as a sort of platform that can be also replicated in other financial hubs where it makes sense. And I would say the Italian government is being very smart and very focused on this approach and idea to build not just a project that begins and ends in a few years, and it's just been a great story or something to remember, but something that can stay there for the long term. And there are not that many examples in the history where projects can actually last for a long time. And we finger
Right.
crossed, we hope that that's going to be the
Right.
case for INNOVIT.
Oh, Alberto, can you share a success story of the Italian entrepreneur of company that has benefited from INNOVIT's program?
Right. So, of course, I mean, our programs are built as a sort of like boot camps. Like, think about, I don't know, sort of like a Stanford or Berkeley executive program that lasts for a limited period of time. It's 2 weeks. It's a full immersion program, very intense, high quality, high end. It's not a Silicon Valley tour. It's not a what we call a safari tech tour.
Right.
Our founders, they come here. They know they will have to, be going through a very intense journey, very rewarding, and obviously the entrepreneurial mindset and being connected with the ecosystem is the main goal of this program. And I can tell you, it's incredible to see these founders day one when they land and they arrive at INNOVIT, and day 14 when they leave. It's really transformational. It's there is a lot of inspiration. Many of them are revisiting the way they do business. Many of them they are rethinking in a good way. Sometimes, they even really decide to change their path in terms of their business model. So that's why we do what we do. We're not competing with Y Combinator or with the most famous accelerator that lasts for 3 months, whose goal is to do demo day and write an investment check at the end. However, having said that, of course, when you are exposed in 2 weeks to hundreds of mentors and speakers, serendipity and collisions and connections happens. And in fact, that's what we do, especially in the networking sessions. So we do have already, I would say, many. When I say many, I would say at least 10% of the global community that we have collected examples of founders that have somehow come back to Italy with something tangible in terms of project. Some of them, they've raised funding. I remember some company like, I don't know, in the space economy. We do a lot of deep tech and hard tech type of programs. Like, I don't know, Involve Space, that comes up to my mind, that signed an investment after going back to Italy. We also have very interesting opportunities to do POC, market test, and projects that are relevant from a commercial standpoint. So venture capital is not the only reason why companies they come to INNOVIT, because market validation is probably the most critical thing that they need to address when thinking to global and to become international. And then another very interesting thing that happens in INNOVIT is these connections with the Italian corporations, Italian companies that are part of our ecosystem. They are our sponsors and they are our support. And I can bring up as an example a company called Is Clean Air. They do air pollution abatement, and they met the largest gas distributor, the largest Italian gas distributor, now largest European gas distributor, Italgas, and they met here in San Francisco. And so there was a follow-up in Italy, and then Is Clean Air could join their open innovation program. And in fact, they signed up a POC. Basically, they became their client. And so can you
Wow.
believe that, an Italian startups building a partnership with an Italian corporations while meeting in San Francisco at INNOVIT? That's kind of the magic that happens here.
So, how does INNOVIT foster connection between Italy and America, innovators, investors, and institutions?
So there are many ways. I mean, the most important thing we do is to expose our entrepreneurs and businesses to the ecosystem. So what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs calls the economic diplomacy So, in fact, leveraging our businesses as a way to build bridges and connections between countries, and in this case, two important countries, like Italy and the US, who, by the way, let us remind how this partnership and relationship is so strategic in so many fields, is really the core of this mission. So we expose our entrepreneurs, and by doing so, we build the connections. How we do this? During our programs, there are dedicated sessions to what we call one-to-ones. So we created matchmaking between founders and investors and businesses in dedicated sessions. We have networking sessions every day at the end of the day. Think about it, these founders, they arrive at INNOVIT at 9 a.m. and they leave INNOVIT at 9 p.m. It's very intense. But every day we end with a networking session. So there is a lot of, again, serendipity, a lot of unstructured, let's say, connecting kind of, or connect opportunities of connections that happens there. And then, of course, the final and most important part is demo day. So at the end of the program, we have a beautiful event space where startups are on stage, and they do what we call in the industry, their pitch session. 3 minutes, they have to pitch to investors. So we have an audience filled with investors and venture capital, and so that's the best way for them to introduce themselves at the end of their journey. And that's where actually the connection, the most valuable connections are happening. Now, besides startups, I need to remind you, the INNOVIT is also being created to help other part of our economy to bridge, to create a bridge and build a bridge with the United States and Silicon Valley. I'm thinking large corporations, I mentioned before, but also small businesses who have been at INNOVIT to organize events and commercial and business development opportunities, and also regional government. We have a partnership with the Tuscany region. By the way, just these days, they have set up a beautiful exhibition on the Tuscany genius with portraying, the most beautiful artifacts of Tuscany. Producers and big brands and small brands, and also they're building their own company. The Regione Emilia-Romagna region, and finally also universities. Now, universities are very important because talent is one of the most important assets that we have in Italy, and most of the top talent in the tech and deep tech industry really comes from our amazing universities, our PhDs. So we're starting to work a lot with academia, and that's the plan for 2025.
I mentioned about how great university we have in Italy.
Yeah, indeed. And we're very lucky to work with some of the most important ones. And also on that note, let me also remind you the important contribution. I was talking before about the diaspora and the local ecosystem of Italians, the important contribution of the local associations that are part of the, let's say, ecosystem here. And I'm talking about Baia, I'm talking about Ital Foundation, and last but not least, ISNAF, which is the network of Italian scientists and researchers that are, in fact, critical because they actually build that community of Italian scientists that are a core part of the program. Overseeing all this is the Italian consulate, of course, because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs relies highly on the role of supervision of the project by the Italian consulate, and specifically, we have been so fortunate to have our consul general here these years starting up this this project. Sergio Strozzi, our consul general, indeed has been one of the champion of the project, and so as they say, it takes that kind of government support, but it takes people at the end,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
Which industries or sectors do you see as the most promising for Italian innovation in the US?
I guess that deep tech, which means all those technologies that are around biotech, around robotics, hardware, uh, sustainability and clean tech, all those technologies that are at the very frontier of innovation are industries where Italians have much to say, and not only because the market is growing, but also because we're very strong thanks to the academia and the universities. And so the trends are there, and obviously AI is the big trend. It's actually influencing most of these industries. So the intersection of these technologies with AI is going to be the main challenge and the main opportunity. That's why I think building this bridge with Silicon Valley and the epicenter of the AI revolution that is San Francisco is possibly even more important today than yesterday. So by creating this connection, I think we can position Italy as a real tech nation, as a hub for innovation, and especially when the bilateral partnership between countries today, as we move forward into these challenging environments on the use of AI is going to be critical. And I think the role of INNOVIT can be very important in this respect to be a sort of an antenna of our country here in Silicon Valley.
Are there any upcoming initiatives, partnerships, or event at INNOVIT that you are particularly excited about?
Yeah, so 2025 is going to be a turnaround point for INNOVIT. We have a very busy agenda, to say the least. The most important being a part of this year of this calendar is the number of cohorts that we have already planned. 6 of them already in the calendar. We're starting in March during the Game Developer Conference by bringing Italian startups in the gaming, AR and VR and metaverse industry. Then we move forward with hardware and robotics. Then in June, biotech and life science. Very interesting this year, we're going to launch for the first time a very important industry for us and sector that is the fashion tech and beauty tech. It's going to be a primer for the first time that we do this, and we cannot wait. I cannot wait to see this happening. And then the second part of the year, then we're going to obviously have space economy and close with the clean tech industry. So these are kind of, and I invite everybody to attend. And our Italian founders, if they're obviously listening now, to apply, because all the calls are open for applications. The process is an Italian startup that want to come to San Francisco needs to register, and there is a vetting process by which we typically receive between 100 and 200 applications, and we only select the 30 best startups to attend. So that's definitely something like a call to action that I want to underline. Now, besides projects and events for startups, we have so much more happening. The Italian Cultural Institute has a beautiful calendar of events that are more around culture, art, and obviously music. And the director, Alberto, she's really amazing because we work together, we tag team in also thinking how the Italian Cultural Institute can leverage the presence of Italian founders for having events and exhibition at the intersection of culture and technology, and something that we've done a few times in the past. And then we have events that are more related to companies' presentations, events related to the intersection of AI and technology and culture. And many corporations, they are visiting and they bring their delegations. And during their presence here in San Francisco, that's the opportunity to have events open to the public to discuss about the major topic at the frontier of innovation.
Right. So, also, Alberto, what advice would you give to an Italian entrepreneurs aspiring to launch their business in US?
Yeah, and we have that's the learning we have developed in the last couple of years, working and supporting more than 300 entrepreneurs. I would say two at least. One is more like of a soft skill, and that is about being able to really tell their story in a way that is culturally fit to the American culture, to the investors, and to the businesses. And that's not obvious because cultural biases and difference can actually have a major role in a good way and in a bad way when you're trying to scale globally. Uh, think about how you build your team as an example. Building the team that has to help you moving forward into going global and bring in the right talent and understand this cultural difference is so critical. And it's kind of a turning point for many companies to really, and sometimes also underestimated, let's be honest. Um, the other thing is understanding that if you have been successful in Italy or in Europe, that doesn't mean that investors or partners here will assume that you will be successful in the United States too. So that's a huge thing. So what we call market validation, it's something that is relevant not only at home when you're starting your business, but it has to be iterated and replicated when you're scaling globally, especially when you're landing in a large market of 350 million consumers like the United States. So the market validations means understanding that the product or service that you have developed, and might have been very successful in your own country, has to be also tested here. You need to have a few clients before even starting to talk to investors. And that's kind of, probably one of the most challenging part because it's a chicken and egg problem. I need investors to test the market, but then I need the market to start quoting to investors. Now,
Right.
how do you solve that kind of chicken and egg problem is the quintessential thing that you need to learn. And there is obviously not a magic silver bullet for solving this, but you need to address that. And also finally understanding that the United States, although it's a large market, the East Coast is not the same as the West Coast, and as well as Central America. There are different culture here, different way to do business, and different way for the companies to buy and sell services. So even understanding the difference within the US is as well important.
What has been the most unexpected lesson you've learned through your work with INNOVIT?
Oh, there is definitely one for sure that we did not think, and it was a beautiful surprise, is the overwhelming positive response from the local community. Uh, Not only I think INNOVIT is giving them a place where they can connect, a beautiful location that is sort of like the best way to present Italy in this important city that is San Francisco and Silicon Valley. So something that they can feel proud of, but a place that they can think of to give back to their country. So I think our president a couple of years ago said something very interesting, which is in Italian, moving forward from the brain drain to connecting talents. And I mean, in English, it doesn't it doesn't come up the
See?
same way, but I think the
Yeah.
goal is that the diaspora and the brain drain is typically a negative storytelling. I think INNOVIT, thanks to the role of the consulate and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is proving that Italians abroad can be an amazing resource, an asset, as long as you give them the opportunity to give back. And I think with our programs and the way we have structured our place here and many cohorts that are happening and involving them in our program is probably the way that they can be not only they can feel not only proud about Italy, but they can also help. And when they come here, the first thing that they say to our entrepreneurs is, "How can I help?" Okay, so that's definitely one of the actually most important positive surprise that I had. The other thing is, if I may say, when you do launch an experiment like this, you really don't know what is going to happen, especially when it is a public-private partnership. I did realize that the public administration has so much talent, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, specifically the Italian Trade Agency, they really are an amazing resource and asset for our country abroad. And I think at INNOVIT we have been able to put together people and team that really work together, and they do it for their own for their country, for our entrepreneurs and for our nation and the way we are perceived. Think about that. Think about that. Our advisory board, thanks to the support of the consulate and the embassy, is a lineup, and you can look it up at our website, of incredibly important executives and leaders from the venture capital market, like Doug Leone, to very famous Italians in Silicon Valley, like Luca Maestri or Diego Piacentini. Maria Grazia Roncarolo, in the biotech field, a luminaire, professor at Stanford, and I can obviously name more. Ron Spogli, former ambassador of the US to Italy. So it could have never happened thanks to the support of our country. So realizing that our ministries, our government can be an incredibly important and powerful resource to do business abroad is also something that came up through this journey.
How do you balance fostering innovation while navigating the challenges of an uncertain market?
Well, I think innovation is innovation and uncertainty. They go together. There would be no innovation if there were no uncertainty. I think today the biggest one, and the one that, and we are in the midst of this, that is really challenging us in many ways about how we think about uncertainty, besides the geopolitical environment that we are obviously well aware of, is how AI, artificial intelligence, is going to affect, in a good way, think about solving major issues, think about how life science will be transformed, how we will find cures about cancer, about Alzheimer's, thanks to AI in the coming years. And I'm very optimistic about that. But also the challenges that underscore this revolution. I'm thinking about the future of work, something that we have been discussing in the last few years after COVID. But this is really next level. And also the ethical part of AI, of course, how we deal with the core values about our community, society, how do we address topics about cybersecurity, about fake news again, and that's something that we really need to think. And I think this is an interesting point to remember that I think Italy, and thanks to our background and our culture, can have a lot to say on this and help Silicon Valley and give a contribution to the conversation thanks to our values and culture. And I think that's that kind of makes INNOVIT and what we're doing even more important in this respect.
On Crave, we always talk about passions. Okay, beside your work at INNOVIT, what's your personal passion within this field, and what motivates you to continue pursuing this work?
I think INNOVIT has been a very important part of my career and about my professional development. with so much impact to my personal one in terms of understanding that building bridges and creating connection between communities is really something of so much importance, and also looking at how communities can come together to help each other. It's really a core value and the reason why of what we should everybody think of when we do our things when we work every day. I think there are
Right.
core values that needs to guide us in our daily professional activities, and I think connecting people and creating opportunities, it's one of those. And I think that's what I probably learn, and this would be the best place probably to do this. So yeah, I would say that. And doing this from the other side of the world, we are thousands of kilometers from Italy is being really also very important.
Right. And beside, Alberto, INNOVIT, what is your passion that keep you, moving forward?
Oh yes, I think I've taken the best part of San Francisco and this place is about love of nature and
Nice.
outdoor, and I think quality of life and healthy life is something that probably speaks a lot about this place. And I'm very happy that despite everything, despite COVID and obviously the hard times that San Francisco had to go after COVID, the city has not lost this. We live in such a beautiful place here, and nature and outdoor is something
Right.
that I think there are really few places in the US where we can enjoy both kind of the best of our professional life and the best of our personal life. So love of nature is definitely the one.
Where can people learn more about INNOVIT and how can businesses or individuals get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Innovate is an open platform, and there are opportunities for local mentors to participate to our programs. There are opportunities for Italian startups to apply and come to San Francisco for this experience. And by the way, we also have 3 job openings currently these days. So there are opportunities also to work here and help
Nice.
us
Make sure to
grow the team.
apply.
So everything is on innovatsf.com.
So thank you so much, Alberto.
You're
We,
welcome.
thank you, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for joining us on Crave. Italy is more than just history and tradition. It's a place of innovation, creativity, and big ideas. INNOVIT is proof that Italy's future is just exciting as its past. If you want to learn more, check their website.
This episode of Crave is sponsored by Becker Inc, a family-run business with over 30 years of experience in the fashion industry. They offer unique clothing for every age and size, always going the extra mile for their customers. Visit them in Nevada or online at www.alicebeckerinc.com.
Thank you so much to Alice Becker Inc. For supporting this episode. Alex, now what's going on with the 49ers?
To kick things off, get it? You
Yeah.
got it? Okay. This week, we already have an update on Debo. So, according to Jeremy Fowler from ESPN, several teams have reportedly expressed interest in Debo, and preliminary talks on a potential trade have happened between Debo, his agent, and the team. I gotta say, I am pretty curious to know which team he ends up going to. I know he mentioned that the Denver Broncos intrigued him, but also if I'm him, I'd like to be, on the contending team's kind of radar. We'll see if he gets traded or released, because that is also still a possibility. In NFC West news, NFL news, I'm kind of mixing it up. The Los Angeles Rams have given permission for quarterback Matthew Stafford's agent to speak with other teams about his value. So for the time being, this is not a trade request. According to Tom Pelissero from NFL Network, this is so the Rams and Stafford can gain a better understanding of his value outside the team, potentially making it easier to get a contract done. In other words, outside help can assist engaging the market and seeing his value. So his return would be to the Rams, but they're just kind of trying to see what's going on with that.
Okay.
And I think the Niners offseason drama that we've had season after season has really drained me because I don't even want to entertain the idea. I've already seen a certain journalist and there's been fans kind of having that conversation. And I know there was a time in which the Niners, Kyle, was interested in bringing Stafford in, but it's not going to happen. And the same thing goes for Aaron Rodgers. I'm bringing him into this conversation. Although I will say Matthew Stafford has been playing significantly better than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, there's always a possibility that he goes to another team, one that needs a quarterback, the Giants, the Browns, the Raiders. Maybe him and the Rams can't get a contract done, but I doubt that he will be wearing a Niners uniform anytime soon. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
If anything, we should be looking for a suitable backup quarterback, and we just need to focus on other areas. And speaking of, the Niners have re-signed free agent offensive guard Ben Bartch to a 1-year deal per Eric Branch. I'm actually really happy about this. He was solid before his injury. I believe it was a high ankle sprain. And if he stays healthy this season, I can definitely see him at left guard, and I think Aaron Banks will walk. And finally, the 2025 NFL Combine is this Thursday, February 27th to Sunday, March 2nd. For those that may not know what it is, it's basically a showcase that happens every February at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, where college football players perform physical and mental tests in front of NFL coaches, general managers, and scouts. I'm really looking forward to the updates that John Lynch gives because I don't think he's spoken to the media since the end of the year meeting. And, okay, I gotta say this. We, and by we I mean me, I got to stop listening to some of these 49er insiders because there were rumors this week that Kyle Shanahan was going to be there. And I totally fell for it. I was like, oh my gosh, Kyle's going to be there? Like, what's going on? And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh. And a real 49er insider kind of came into the picture and was like, guys, no. So let me just say, guys, we got to stop falling for it. Let's always kind of check what's going on.
That's great.
Yeah. Before we wrap up today's 49ers offseason update, fuel up with the official energy drink of greatness, Goat Fuel, co-founded by the GOAT himself, Jerry Rice. Use our affiliate link for 10% off your order. Not only will you power up with elite energy, but every purchase through our link directly supports Crave, helping us bring you even more great content. The link is in the description down below. Thank you for tuning into our 4th episode of our 6th season. Follow us on Instagram at crave.show. We're on Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe.
If there is one thing I want you to take away from this episode is that Italy is not just about tradition, it's also about the future. And make sure you check our website craveshow.com. Ci vediamo settimana prossima. Ciao a tutti, un abbraccio. Ciao, a settimana prossima.